When a big city sheriff says he's never seen a scenario so dire, one that would be deplorable and intolerable even for an animal, you better brace yourself. And I'll say that again in case you think I'm exaggerating. Brace yourself. This is a bad one. The pictures deserve a graphic warning. This story came to light at the end of last week in a Detroit suburb of Pontiac, Michigan. Oakland County Sheriff's deputies found 3 children in this house in these conditions: a 15-year-old boy and 2 girls aged 12 and 13. Their mother had left them in that home to fend for themselves almost 5 years ago. Do the math. They would have been 10, 8, and 7. That fact alone is mind-boggling, but so is this. They existed on weekly drop-offs of food from Instacart and DoorDash. But towards the end of that 5-year ordeal, the food that was dropped off ended up being a loaf of bread. Obviously, somebody also was paying the rent on that house until they stopped. That happened last October. And it was therefore the landlord who called the sheriff's office for a welfare check. By then, of course, those children's welfare was all but non-existent. Their house was overrun with garbage and feces and mold. Their clothes were filthy. Their hair was matted. And just so you know the extent of the neglect, their toenails were so long they could barely walk. Their last delivery of anything related to personal hygiene was a half-decade ago and was only a box of trash bags, some gloves, and a can of air freshener. 5 years ago. They hadn't been to school since 2020, and the 2 girls apparently hadn't been outside that house in years. Tonight, the children's 34-year-old mother is in custody, as she should be. But it begs the question, where was everybody else? Where was the father? Where were the schools? What about the neighbors? How could this nightmare have gone on for so long? Joining me now is the Oakland County Sheriff, Michael Bouchard. Sheriff, thank you so much for being here. I literally can't even believe, as I read those details again, that I'm reading fact. How are the children right now, and where are they?
So we took them immediately out of the home once we discovered them, took them to medical care, and then involved our Child Protective Services. And they have been placed temporarily with relatives that were unaware of what was going on. And we have a lot more scheduled for them this week. We've got a much more detailed health and mental health examination of them. We've already done a kind of a psychological question kind of thing with a care house, kid gloves treatment to try to figure out what they're feeling, what they know, things like that. Thankfully, they're responding very well. Our detectives said when they saw them at the care house interview that they were chatty. And obviously, when we first encountered them, it was nothing like that. The girls were actually hiding in a locked bathroom.
How is their development, given the fact that this is almost half their life? They've lived alone as young children with no adult care. I mean, and just no love.
Yeah, it's horrendous. It's really difficult to wrap your head around this case. I've been in this business a very long time and seen horrific things, horrific murders, horrific child abuse, but this is a terrible one that was magnified by how long it went on over the period of years to not have an adult or any love or any structure, any education, none of that. And so, it's just really difficult to wrap your head around, but we're doing everything we can to set them up on a better path. The community has responded and filled our sheriff's office with clothing for them, and they're making donations. We're going to set us to try to get them, a fund for their health, both physical and mental health, and maybe some educational funds set aside for them.
Sheriff, the obvious question is, you've arrested the mother. I understand you can't reveal her name because she shares a last name with these children. What is her response? Is she talking? Why on earth would anyone do this?
Yeah, she's been talking to our investigators, but so far no reason for this. And it's one of those things. How do you even come up with a reason for this? When you watch the television ads showing dogs and cats in a deplorable condition that evoke that heartstring where you want to contribute to them, imagine that times 10 and then do it over a period of years to children. So it's really difficult to kind of wrap your arms around this. But we're going to do everything we can to wrap our arms around those kids and to make sure, quite frankly, that this mother is held accountable.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.